What price do you put on a family's reputation? Just one of the questions raised by the arrest of an Oberlin College student on November 9th, 2016. Here's our senior contributor, Ted Koppel.
Relax.
The initial confusion, recorded here on a police body camera, bordered at times on chaos.
Why? Why are you arresting me?
White cop, black suspect. A scene many of us might be tempted to process through our own personal bias.
Why do you think you're going to die?
Because I'm scared of police. I'm a black man in custody of police.
Really?
I've never been to the back of a police car.
At court, roughly 9 months later, the young man, a student at Oberlin College in Ohio, received a reduced sentence after pleading guilty to attempted theft, essentially confirming the police report of what had happened.
I happened to be at the store that evening with my son Alan, and a young man came in.
David Gibson is one of the owners of Gibson's Bakery. His son, Alan, was at the cash register when the student tried to buy a bottle of wine.
My son confronted him and would not accept the false ID, realized it was a fake ID as well, but realized that he was also trying to steal 2 bottles of wine. And at that point, he denied him the sale. He attempted to take a picture of him with his phone. At that point, the young man took his phone and shoved it in his face, and he was able to run out of the store.
And then what happened?
My son and I both pursued. My son's quite a bit faster than I am at this age. And he, outside of the store, tried to detain him by hugging him, and then he fell to the ground, and I witnessed all of this. And then we had multiple people come in and start hitting my son.
And he comes running out of nowhere and tackles him and shoves him against the
But there is an alternate version of events.
And then you guys came and arrested them instead of the person who just assaulted this kid for no reason. And he saw it, there were like 3 more people inside who saw it, and we can all testify that that is what happened.
The police weren't buying that version, but David Gibson knew the trouble was brewing.
We're not going off of what they're saying. We're charging him with robbery.
They're going to be trashing us.
Yeah.
Justice, no peace, no justice.
It wasn't long coming. The next morning, in fact.
No peace, no justice, no peace.
Oberlin is one of the most liberal college campuses in the country, and remember, Donald Trump had just been elected president the previous day. Totally unrelated to what had happened at Gibson's Bakery, but it does help explain the mood.
We are here today because yesterday, 3 students from the Africana community were assaulted and arrested as a result of a history of racial profiling and racial discrimination by Gibson's Bakery, located 23 West College Street.
Which is where generations of Gibsons
Yes, sir.
had been running the bakery for more than 100 years. You had been branded as racist, and you felt that was unjust, unfair, untrue.
Absolutely. To us, that was critical. Our feeling is that that's what you have in life, is your reputation. It had taken generations to build this reputation for us. And in just one day, we had lost it.
That damage to their reputation has led to what the Gibsons claim is a 50% loss of business. When the college refused to issue a statement exonerating the family of racism, the Gibsons filed a lawsuit.
And I think for me, when I'm looking at this as somebody who's been covering it since the lawsuit was filed, the questions at hand are no longer about shoplifting and no longer about whether students shoplifted.
Nathan Carpenter is editor-in-chief of the college paper, the Oberlin Review.
It's about whether students were, in the right to say what they said during the initial protests, and whether the college is on the hook.
That is precisely the point. And last June, a local jury found Oberlin College on the hook for $44 million in damages.
A jury said that the school helped defame the business.
The court has since reduced the award to $31.5 million, and Oberlin College has appealed that judgment. So the fundamental questions remain. Were the students justified in exercising their freedom of speech? And why is Oberlin responsible for what they said?
I think the response to that is, let students be students, but don't aid and abet, support, or encourage them when they're clearly doing something reckless.
That's Lee Plakas, who is lead attorney in the Gibsons' lawsuit against Oberlin. If he and his clients ever collect, $6.5 million have been allocated to legal costs.
They try to characterize this as a protest. I think they turned it into a party to appease the students. They ordered pizza, used college funds to order pizza for the demonstrators. They used college fund for food and drinks and refreshments. They used college funds to buy gloves to make sure that the protesters' hands wouldn't get cold.
I raised some of those issues with Carmen Twilley Ambar, who was not then, but is now, president of Oberlin College. Maybe what was before the jury was that the college administration did nothing to ameliorate the demonstration, did nothing to calm the students down. If anything, they appeared to be supportive of the demonstration without, at that time, knowing the facts.
I don't think that's factually accurate. I think that
did they know the facts at the time?
The college didn't know the fact, but it's not true that the college supported the demonstration.
Well, let's take each of the sort of individual charges that were made against the college. The handing out, the purchasing and handing out of gloves.
The college didn't pass out gloves and didn't hand out gloves.
Well, the college didn't, but people representing the college did.
The college disputes those facts, that it handed out gloves.
Where did the gloves come from?
The college disputes handing out gloves.
Factually correct, but still misleading. A student bought the gloves, but only after sending this email requesting reimbursement to Meredith Raimondo, the dean of students. "Hi," read the email. "If I bought $75 to $100 more worth of gloves to bring to the protest, would it be possible to get reimbursed?" And the reply from Dean Raimondo, "Yes. Bring the receipt to 105 Monday. Thanks for helping folks stay warm."
The evidence showed there was a receipt that they paid for the pizza. It was a text, it was with the student council, "Can we get gloves?" And Meredith was like, "Yes." Whatever.
Meredith was the dean of students?
Yes.
Meredith Raimondo?
Yes.
Yeah. Misty Smith was one of the jurors. You were personally convinced and the other jurors were convinced that the college supported the students financially?
100%. 100%. They supported them.
The jury found unanimously that the college also helped students put out and distribute a defamatory flyer which described Gibson's Bakery as, quote, "a racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination," end quote. The college suspended its daily order for bagels and donuts from the bakery. Now, of course, there are huge sums of money hanging in the balance, but to this day, the president of Oberlin makes allusions to a pattern of racist behavior, if not the specific incident that set things off 3 years ago.
Well, the students pled guilty to shoplifting.
Right.
There has been some debate about whether it was shoplifting or a false ID.
Well, it was both.
Right. Well, I think that one of the things that the college has always said is that the college doesn't condone shoplifting, doesn't condone bad behavior by its students in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. But what led up to the protests, and I think that's sort of kind of the core issue here, was some series of things that happened before, some perspectives about people's experiences in the store.
Tell me about those then.
Right.
And be specific.
Right.
What specific incidents are you referring to that happened before?
Right. Well, I think that the specific incidents would be the perception by faculty and students and staff and other people in the town that there had been disparate treatment with respect to people of color in the store. The way I would phrase it, kind of different lived experiences.
And this is all basically anecdotal evidence.
Dave O'Brien covered the trial for the local paper, the Chronicle-Telegram.
People commenting on social media saying, I felt uncomfortable in there. I felt like I was targeted because of the color of my skin.
David's father, Alan Gibson, is 91. Back in 2017, 6 months after the protests, and this may or may not have been related, someone came to his house in the middle of the night. Gibson came out of the house, tripped, and broke his neck.
At that point, when he was in the hospital, and we didn't know whether he was going to make it or not. He had said to me that he had done everything right in his life. Treated everybody equally and fairly. Pardon me. And that he would die being called a racist.
That was Dave Gibson's testimony at trial, and the impact on the jury was pretty much what you'd expect.
He didn't want to pass away, and on there, people thinking that he was racist. And you just feel the heart, like the whole courtroom just went, you know, like that everyone, I think, was trying to hold back tears.
What the jury did not know, because it wasn't admitted at trial, is that Dave Gibson himself is battling pancreatic cancer.
Like, it was very hard because you think, then you're doing a self-reflection, like, of yourself. How would you feel?
What is a reputation worth? You're a very distinguished academic. What's your reputation worth?
My reputation is important.
It's worth a lot, isn't it? I mean, if your reputation was destroyed overnight, you could hardly put a price on that, could you?
Well, I certainly believe that reputations are important. But here's what's also true, and it's the jury system that we have, right, and the legal system that we have, that we go through a legal process that makes that determination. And what the institution has said is that we believe that this determination was excessive.
Right. Freedom of speech does not grant a license to libel, but there are real concerns that the size of this award, $31.5 million, could undermine genuine freedom of speech on college campuses. And ultimately, the unanswerable question: what is the fair price for a family's good name? David Gibson, in the terminal stages of pancreatic cancer, may never learn the answer.